Bonjour à tous. While photographers are at it for a few extra minutes, pendant que les photographes s'affairent encore quelques instants, let me remind you the routine. Permettez-moi de vous rappeler la routine. Si vous avez une question à poser, soyez gentil de nous faire signe un peu à l'avance, de façon à ce qu'on puisse vous voir. De façon également à ce que le micro vous soit porté. Quand vous avez le micro, soyez assez gentil de vous lever, de vous présenter, de poser votre question, puis de vous rasseoir et de rendre le micro. Let me remind you of the routine. When you want to ask a question, please raise your hand a little bit ahead of time so we can see you. More importantly, so that we can bring the microphones to you wherever you're sitting. When you have the microphone, please stand up, introduce yourselves, ask your question, then sit down and give the mic back. Thank you very much. Messieurs les photographes, s'il vous plaît. Merci. Merci. Bonjour à tous. Hello everyone. Et bienvenue à la conférence de presse de
Welcome to the press conference on the Neon Demon.
La conférence de presse de Neon Demon. I don't know which language I'm saying. Anyway, I'll switch to English. And allow me to introduce the people who are here with us today. Starting at my far left. She was associated with the foundation of Zentropa with Lars von Trier, and as such, I guess came to Cannes in various capacities for Kingdom 1 and 2, for The Idiots, for Breaking the Waves, for, oh God, Dancer in the Dark, Dogville, Mandalay. Then when she left Zentropa, she partnered with Mr. Winding Refin. This is the producer, Lene Borglum. Sitting next to me and coming almost from another planet, he was a drummer with the Red Hot Chili Peppers. He was also the drummer for another band named the
Captain Beefheart.
There you go. He was also, by some mysterious ways, associated with Steven Soderbergh and Sex, Lies and Videotape, which was shown here in Cannes, and continued working with Mr. Soderbergh on Kafka, on The Limey, on Traffic, Solaris, and Contagion. Mr. Cliff Martinez. Sitting next to the producer, he started out as a cameraman with Michael Ballhaus on Gangs of New York, directed by Martin Scorsese. Then he switched to editing, and as such, he worked 6 times with Mr. Nicolas Winding Refin. This is Matthieu Newman. The young lady sitting here, we saw, oh God, in Babel, in Benjamin Button, she worked with both Coppolas, Sofia Coppola's on Somewhere and Francis Ford Coppola on Twixt. Both of them were in Cannes, as Jessie, Miss Ellie Fanning. And the first question is, whoever, this gentleman has the mic.
Jason Gorber from Cineplex.com and Twitch Film. First of all, congratulations on the film. It's absolutely stunning. Nicolas, if it felt like it was a Robert Palmer...
I'm sorry.
How about we introduce the director?
I haven't. Okay, Nicolas Winding Refin. And okay, this is the third film I think that he has in Cannes. The first one was Drive. The second one was Only God Forgives. Welcome to your third visit, sir.
Thank you.
Sir.
Okay, ask your question now.
There you go. Nicolas, it feels like a Robert Palmer video directed by Dario Argento. I'm just wondering if you could talk about the aesthetic, talk about the whole look, and your own relationship with the world of modeling. And Elle, if you could talk about your the tenuousness, the sort of fleeting nature of beauty within not only the modeling community, but certainly within performance, and how perhaps in your own experience you've seen people who maybe misjudge you based on what's on the outside instead of what you're actually capable of doing on screen.
Well, I mean, for my, since I'm extremely dyslexic, images has always been a very integrated part of my understanding. But I also didn't learn to understand English until I was very late, and we lived in New York. So images and a strange sound of a language was very much how my education was for many years. And, you know, I don't really know what I do in a sense of I just look at a blank wall and I think, what would I like to see today? And it's how I make films, and it's a very instinctive and satisfying way, sometimes puzzling or frustrating for other people, including myself. But there is something so beautifully perverse about just sexualizing everything around you to just what would you like to see, what arouses you. And with the Neon Demon, I was very much, you know, because it's kind of the irony is that with Drive, I reached a kind of a height of male masculinity to the extent of homoeroticism that within God Forgives is about emasculations and crawling back into the womb of your mother where all men come from, ladies. And what was going to be next? Well, obviously, I could live out my perverse dream of being a 16-year-old girl, which I think every man has inside of him. And but in order to do that, I needed to find the girl. And I was blessed with this opportunity in my house in LA of Elle Fanning agreeing to come meet me. And I was like, oh my God, you're me. Would you like to make a movie together? And it has to be about you because you're 16 and I can channel through that, but you take the lead. And when you're turning 17 and when you're turning 18, okay, all right, well then we'll do it now. We'll turn 17 and then we'll premiere at Cannes when you're 18, which is the fucking day of her prom, ladies and gentlemen. Now, talk about a fucking party, you know? And we had the pre-Amphar last night, which was like the kind of pre-prom party, but tonight, Elle is turning 18 and she's prom night.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, with this character, I guess in a way you'd say this film is more, I mean, I'd like to choose different roles that are, you know, things that are interesting and kind of pique my interest in a way, but this was, I guess, more darker role that I had done, and I think that on the outside, it's, you know, I'm a very kind of happy person, but you know, everyone has kind of the good and bad in them. So it was fun to explore that side, and since we shoot in chronological order, it was amazing because Jesse progresses and changes so much. You know, the day before, those were like the memories we created, so I could really kind of track her really literally turning into a complete narcissist. And yeah, in the beginning, we kind of talked about her as she's like Dorothy in a way in Wizard of Oz, because she's plopped into this world, and you know, you don't really know where she comes from, but she's this innocent, kind of wide-eyed looking at these sparkly things, and you know, LA is, you know, such a, you know, neon. For a while, I was like, I kind of thought like LA was the neon demon in a way, because that city's so haunting but so enticing, and it can just, it sucks you in, but it will spit you out.
Question over here.
Hi, Steven from Belgium. Question for Elle. Could you relate to the meat market aspect of the movie, even though Mr. Refin takes it to extremes? But
I guess, well, I had done, because I started out in films, my first film I did, I was 2. So I kind of have been doing this pretty much my whole life. And I mean, I love it. And it's, but also you're like, oh, okay, this is. I was born in Georgia, which we kind of incorporated into the movie because we wanted to incorporate as many things as possible. So in a weird way, I'm kind of this small town girl who moved to like the big city, so I could relate to that. And then and growing up in LA, you definitely you see a lot of things, especially in the industry too. It's like, whoa, like this is how even being here at Cannes. I mean, this is my first time. It's so exciting, but it's like going to these parties, and it's like it's just I don't know. I felt like Jesse. You have to be able to not get sucked in too much, I guess.
Question here. Go ahead.
Karen Batt for the Huffington Post, and a question to the director and a question to Cliff Martinez. Okay. Bravo for your film. I took it as an achievement of the contemporary sublime with terror and beauty, a fine line going on throughout the film. And I wondered where you stood with a character's statement, there is only beauty, okay? And the sublime, because I really, other people have talked about the meanings of the film. I was taking it right for the aesthetic, okay? And I enjoyed it for that. And for Cliff Martinez?
Hold the second question, okay? Sir.
Well, actually, that scene was based on me improvising all the dialogue. We wrote it down, and it all came down to, beauty isn't everything. It's the only thing. And that itself, I have daughters, so of course it's a very uncomfortable thing to even think about. But, we made a movie that's heightened reality. It's everything that's glorious and glamorous and vulgar and beautiful, and it's terror and beauty. It's sex and violence. It's primal. Its instinct as a film is to penetrate your mind and let it absorb whatever you make it whatever it is, essentially, and it becomes part of you, which is what's the essence of creativity is. And I think that there is something very terrifying in even thinking that the world can be only about beauty. But the reality is, if you look around, it's an obsession that has only grown. Even though we try to rationalize it, we try to politicalize it, we try to this and to that, but the digital revolution has sped up a part of man's evolution that is to the extreme. So the idea of the movie was, when I talked to Elle, was, well, let's make a movie about the obsession of beauty, which is very standard. It's in our television, it's in our print, it's in our social media, it's in our movies. It's what you guys write about. But what's going to happen when the longevity no longer exists? Meaning that how we define beauty and length shrinks and shrinks and shrinks. At the same time, it also seems to become younger and younger and younger. And that, to me, is terrifying. I have 2 daughters. And that was something that I found between us, 45-year-old man, a 60-year-old girl, to be very universal, I felt. And with that, we wanted to approach it like a fairy tale, because it's a teenage horror film for teenagers. So it has to speak the language of counterculture.
And your second part.
We met in Topanga, where you discussed how you, or you told me about how you did Drive and that you counterpointed his scenes. I think that's the word you used. You used the opposite kind of mood music for a scene which you would expect something, that's what you said. But here in this film, I loved how you did this music. And can you talk about how you did it and what your approach was and how you discussed it with the director?
Well, I guess the counterpoint idea comes from, I suppose, my film score and upbringing from Steven Soderbergh, who always told me to rarely use the music to repeat something that's already on the screen in the images or in the dialogue, and instead use the music as some kind of counterpoint. I think that storytelling is always about 80% fulfilling the audience's expectations and 20% throwing curveballs. And I like to throw about 30% curveballs. I like to do things that are a little unexpected. I think that makes the type of film that I like to watch. So a lot of the music for me I kept trying to do things that were not entirely expected. But then a lot of times you just have to do what's expected. If something's beautiful or romantic, you want to complement that, not contrast against it. As far as working with Nicolas goes, this is our third film we've done together, and I think that monogamy in a creative partnership has some advantages. We kind of have this, developed this creative shorthand over the last three films, and we have a bag of tricks, and that we can fall back on. He'll just say, when we get here to this point, give me that thing that you do with the red plastic pig mask and the hard-boiled egg. And I'll say, oh, you mean a number 7? And he goes, yeah. So as far as our creative partnership goes, really, I don't have any interesting anecdotes about what happened on the shoot. Most of my work takes place in a darkened bedroom. And maybe at 2 a.m, I'll get a phone call from Nicolas from Copenhagen, and we'll look at each other in our respective bathrobes and face off and discuss the film. And it's all very civilized, and it's probably not very fascinating discussion, but that's the process.
In your collaboration with Nicolas, has he ever shot something based on the music that you had come up with, or do you always come once he's shot?
I think it's always once he's shot, but I suspect that maybe the music has influenced the editing of the film.
Oh, very much. I mean, the kind of the trio of the group in is very much Matt Newman and Cliff Martinez, in terms of when it comes to the musical part. I mean, where there are both in the 3 films we've done together, there are places where it's like, oh, okay, if we will finish this here editorially, and then we'll give it to Cliff, and then he'll fix it to get it to the next level. So it's very much also a partnership creatively, in terms of we each bring a piece of the puzzle to help elevate it. But it's like, we don't know what the pieces are, but it will come along the way. And the films we've done together has been, so musically dominated, and that's, one of the great partnerships, is that I feel that, it's part of my own DNA. Cliff's music is so part of the existence of the film that it's like, I hear his music in my head, but I don't know what it is going to be yet. And we may talk about the design or what kind of music, in the beginning when I'm showing you the script, and we talk about the script and what kind of musical ideas, what kind of sound could be interesting. I mean, here in Neon Demon, we talked a lot about Giorgio Moroder and that, early 80s beat, like post-disco, but it was also creeping into the more alternative punk scene and progressive rock. And that was a pulse that we were very interested in. Also editorially, that Matt and I would spend a lot of time designing around, and then it becomes, like Cliff said, a very mundane back and forth, like, how's life, what are you doing, oh, this is great, let's try this, let's try that, And then the thing is, every time Cliff comes with something, it's always spot on. So it's a very, very easy process.
Any comment from your point of view, Mr. Newman?
Sorry?
Any comment from your point of view as an editor?
I would just say, on this film, we used orchestral music exclusively from the 1950s, Bernard Herrmann. And when we first showed Cliff, he was like, what? I can't.
An orchestral score?
We're not doing orchestral. But it was literally the first thing he delivered was just amazing. I think any director would just thank God to have someone like Cliff on his side, because he's just.
Ladies and gentlemen, my new publicist.
We're trying to sign an exclusive deal.
Question over here. Go ahead.
Mr. Refin, over here to your left. Anthony D'Alessandro from Deadline. While it's very much a female-driven movie, I found it very interesting in the way that you painted the men. And I was wondering if you could comment on that. Keanu's character, Alessandro's character, and the photographer, they're very carnal, very much powerful. If you could comment on that, and also what was going on with Keanu Reeves and the knife in her throat. Was that a vision?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, first of all, just having Keanu with a knife in someone's throat is just very exciting. And you know, Keanu's the fucking best. He's the king. So it was a great honor to have him. And when I was talking with Elle the first time, I was like, well, the idea was that all the men are like the girlfriends in other movies. And because all the women and everything else around it is the focus, it's the movie. Everything is secondary in a way. But the men represent certain approaches of either fear or control or predatorial. But essentially, they're all really dominated by the female characters, because it's the female characters that allows them to be predators, or allows them to be in control, or allows them to be, you know, the boyfriend with a great heart and the good morals. But I wasn't particularly interested in that world. I was interested in the women's world, and that's what I wanted to focus. But in order to create a story around it, we needed the quote-unquote girlfriends to toss in here and there.
Question over here.
Hi guys, it's Tom Westerholt, German Public Radio Network ARD. Excellent movie, everybody. One of the best of this year's competition. Congratulations.
Thank
Absolutely
you.
Great. Elle, you did outstanding in this movie. And like you said, you're in the business since you're 2 years old. So there is a special similarity between the character you play and what can happen to a young actress in Hollywood. Mm-hmm. How did you so far avoid, and how do you still avoid, to not get completely soaked in from the industry and get spit out of yourself?
Right. Well, I mean,
What's your secret, Elle?
Yeah. I'm graduating this year from a normal high school. I still live with my parents. I don't know, I have like such a good family. I think that they would whip me into shape if I did anything. And I also, you have to kind of separate. I used to, when I was younger, I kind of looked at going to do films as like someone going to do soccer practice or going to play a match in a way, because I'm like, all right, well, that's just my extracurricular activity. I'm all right, then I go off and do a movie for a little bit. And then, but once I'm home, there's that, and you're always thinking of characters, and I daydream a lot, so I'm like always in my head in that way. But once you're home, you're home, and so you have to separate it. I think that the people who just live in that movie world, like nonstop, 24/7, 100%, it's like it's too intense. You can't do that. So, you kind of step out of it and take out the trash and like be normal.
To the best of your knowledge, Mr. Nicolas, would you say that the fashion world is even harsher and more cruel than the acting world?
I'm not an expert, baby. No way can I either critique that world. I think that any environment that is so much focused on how you look is extremely harsh, because it really comes on how are you born. What are you born like? And that itself is such a horrible world to even live in the sense that it must be terrifying living where the reality is so extreme. But at the same time, it's also very intoxicating. It's very thrilling. It's very exciting. And it's also very frightening. But we didn't make a movie to comment or make a point or a so-called politicalization or, This is a movie of living through Elle Fanning entering this world. And that's what was so exciting. But, it's like the canvas was global.
Question over here.
Hi, Dylan Dempsey from No Film School. Question for Nicolas and Matthieu. I want you to elaborate on your collaborative relationship. For example, when you're using pre-existing pop songs, or in this case, Bernard Herrmann, for the score, how do you use the music as inspiration for an image without letting it take control of the movie? Are you two ever at odds when you're creating the vision?
No, Matt and I met many years ago on British television, and something happened between us that we became creative partners in that sense, and has moved together ever since. And it's very basic. I call him and I say, I have an idea for a movie, and he goes, oh, great, I'll tell my wife. And then I usually send him an idea or a synopsis, or I explain it over the phone, and he's always good with like, okay, I get it. No, okay, let me mold it around it, and let's talk about it. And then, we continue back and forth, and then the script process starts, and Matt is very much on the sideline and commenting, creative discussions, coming with points and ideas of how we could do this or do that. And then when it gets to the pre-production, usually Matt then flies in wherever I'm shooting. This time we were shooting in LA, and we were editing the movie at my pool house. When we did Drive, we edited the movie in my living room, and only God forgives, we were in a hotel room together. And so that's pre, and then we start shooting. And because you shoot unlimited budgets, it just has to be like, you got to deliver right away. So every day, my phone call is always around noon. It's like, Matt, how's it looking? Anything? Because he's there in the pool house editing away on the Demon, and he'll go, yes, great, super, great stuff, Oh, you know what? I think we're going to have a problem right here. Okay. Then I take it serious. Then we meet at night, regroup. We talk about it, look at it, come up with a solution, and there's like a specific version in this movie even that was like, we found it right away. Because the thing about shooting chronologically order is that it's a constant evolution of creativity. It's like painting a picture, and because I'm not interested in the result, I'm interested in the process, because that's where you live. And that journey together is very intense. And then we fine cut the movie, this time back in Copenhagen, and then Matt comes to Copenhagen, and then we get into post-production. And then Matt basically comes in with the grading system, because I'm colorblind. So Matt knows what I like, but I can't verbalize that because I can't see it. So Matt knows to speak to the post-production people, and this is what they have to do so I can see it, and then I'll say, I like that. Okay, that's good. So he filters, I go through him explaining it, and then when we get to the mix, he becomes with me on that, and we kind of finalize the film together, and then he basically goes and does all the annoying post-production work of looking at various small fucking computer printouts to make sure all the technicality is important. That's how much we are connected. And Cliff is very much part of that process, because we start together from the beginning. And in terms of the music, both Matt and I love music. We love all kinds of music, and I may be using a different source of music when I make the movie, but the idea of the melodrama and the kind of Bernard Herrmann-esque or noir melodrama-esque 50s music was just like, that would be a way into this film. And once that was it was so easy to cut it. And then the trick was just, we're going to show it to Cliff now. And then he was like, what? My goodness. And at the same time, I was like, but can you now do this and take it to a whole new universe?
It's like he said.
Question here. Rodrigo Fonseca, TV Globo Brazil. Wonderful film. Nicolas, could you tell us a few words about Ruby? She's a wonderful character. I'd like to hear about that. And also, was Brian De Palma an influence to this film? Because it reminded me a lot of Dressed to Kill.
Well, I love Brian De Palma. I mean, who doesn't love Brian De Palma? And regarding the Ruby character, see, originally the film I had was designed around Jesse and Ruby. And that was for a long time its process of being made. And then I decided to split Ruby into 3 characters and then Jesse still. And then as I started shooting, I was like, I'm actually more interested in Ruby again. So those 3 characters went back and became that one character. But the whole process of creating Ruby was a lot to do with Jena Malone. Jena Malone, who is just like, I mean, beyond acting, she came to a casting. She nailed it right away with Elle, and we were just like, can you please not leave the room and take the part, and how do I call your agent? And then it was very much like she was the biggest question mark in terms of the script of what was this character going to become. And where the other ones were more defined, and oddly enough, by a blessing, the only scene I couldn't shoot in chronological order was the morgue scene, which I'm sure you've all seen. And so I was pretty annoyed and frustrated because how does this fit into the story yet? I don't even know yet. I'm not there yet. But because we were shooting Unlimited, as always, and I wanted to shoot in a real LA morgue, the LA cemetery morgue. So there were dead bodies next to us to build up the mood. Let's talk about. We actually had to sign a paper saying if somebody died, we had to leave because they would come in with a body. So on this in this room where all this death had been, it was like, okay, Jena, so you're Jena, right? Yeah, okay, so Jena, can you, okay, so you're gonna take the blanket off, she's gonna be nude, and then you're gonna kiss. And then, whatever you feel like, and then, it's a little uncomfortable talking, about these things with an actress, and then somebody lying nude on an X-rated movie star lying on a something metal. And Jena was like, okay, all right, okay. And then we started shooting, me and Natasha. Natasha, by the way, Breyer, who shot the movie, the photographer, she's sitting over there. She's fucking, look, she is a blessing to this film and very much integrated in the look of the film. And it shows that if you work with women, you get better results. Now, so Jena Malone, action starts, and I have to kind of talk her through what I would like. So she's like, just talk me through it. And I go like, okay, Jena, can you spit in her mouth? She spits. Okay, great. Okay, can you stick your tongue in her mouth? Stick your tongue in her mouth. Okay, that's great. Can you let your hand slide down between her legs? I can't even say those things. Can you slide between her legs? The hand slide down between her legs. Okay, that's great. Can I get more saliva when you spit on her? Okay, kiss. Now on the nipples. Yes, kiss the nipples a lot. Spit on the nipples, kiss on the nip. And it kind of just like escalated into this kind of really intense necrophilia scene that we shot like 3 or 4 times with all these other women in the room. And after that, and this was the second day, I was like, we found her. We found the character. Now go with God.
Over here.
Hello, Catherine Jordan from The Guardian. Congratulations on the film. Just a question for Nicolas. I wonder, following on from that really, if you think there's something inherently, I forgot the word. What is it when you sleep with dead people?
Necrophilia?
If there's something inherently necrophiliac about today's society, and also whether or not you can always tell when somebody's had surgery.
Well, I guess we were in a room last night where there's a lot of plastic surgery at AMFAR. So it was pretty easy to see who was who. We were the normal couple. There is something very interesting about the digital revolution becoming a reality, where death and beauty is combined because it's artificial. Because with the digital revolution, you can alter the look. So what you're seeing is unreality. That means it's dead. And that was very much the essence of the film, was that death and beauty has been now become one because of the digital revolution has and is in the process of creating an alternate universe that my children, their children, will almost live within as if it was a real world, because those things will just more and more become integrated in how we live our daily lives. So the Necrophilia Scene became very much kind of like the essence of the film, that, you know, beauty and death is just, there's nothing in it except it's the end of the line. And there's something very tragic about even the Ruby character. But I think that's one of the interesting and dangerous possibilities of this alternate world that is becoming, in many ways, the real world for our children. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens, because it's not going to go back. We're not going to reverse the wheel. It's just going to get more and more. As a metaphor, you're probably spot on that very much that was partly what the film is also about.
Question over here.
Yeah, this is Jan Gunnar Furuli from Aftenposten in Oslo. You're referring to yourself as the Sex Pistol of film. What do you mean by that? And also, is it? Do you have some kind of a national competition with your countryman Lars von Trier, you know, on how to persuade your actors to do the most extreme things?
Well, you're from Norway. Okay. So, well, look, Lars, done a lot of drugs, you know, over the hill. So you got that answer. And then, in terms of the Sex Pistol, baby, we're search and destroy, man. Look at those reactions you guys are all reacting from last night. That's punk rock. Fuck the establishment, youth culture. Take it or leave it, but you cannot deny it. That's search and destroy. We passed through Iggy Pop on the way to the tech rehearsal last night. It was like, we're passing a trophy, pal. And what was your other question again?
About who's competing with whom to get...
Look, the last thing I saw Lars do was trying to, you know, tell my wife he wanted to have sex with her. She told him to fuck off.
Question over there.
So he found some other slut.
I'm from TV2 in Denmark. My name is Ole Kost. I would like to ask Nicolas, reading the reviews today, I think it is a split decision. How does it influence on you? Will it spoil your day today?
If I don't split, what are we doing here? You know, art is not about good or bad, guys. It's those days are over. The internet has changed, so film as an art form is about an experience. Good or bad is your Chinese food or your pepper steak at whatever French bistro you had last night. Creativity is about reactions, and reactions is the essence of an experience. The essence of an experience is planting thought. If you don't react, what are you doing here? Why would you waste your time here? You mean, there's so many other things in life that are worth doing than watching a movie or a TV show just to consume time. That's dumb. Go do something else. Living is creativity. And, you know, all my films has always done that. Even before I got embraced and came here, showing my films at this, which is the mecca of cinema. I mean, this is the best place to show a movie. But it's like, you know, whatever you got, I'll tear it down and I'll give you something else instead. And that is an important thing, because I want my children to have the same attitude. Integrity, take no prisoners, whatever you want to call it. Don't compromise on life or anything, because that's where you feel life. And I think it's an important thing to get across to all those teenagers out there that was like me. Or Elle, who just turned 18.
And on that note, I'm afraid our time is up. Thank you very much all for being here.